Well, hello, it's Adaire Palmer here, and welcome to Community TV with Adaire. This is TV for you by TV for me. This is where I talk to people in the community who are doing amazing things to add value to the lives of people around them. And there could be anything like meditation, a yoga class, learning to cook, reading tarot cards or healing, physical fitness, or even gardening. Whatever you're interested in, I want to bring it to you over the coming months. Today, we are talking to the lovely Debbi Kemp, and Debbi is an accredited Cert IV Wholistic Wellness practitioner. I'd love to know more about that, Debbi, because my sister told me recently she's just accredited in that, and I'm really curious about exactly what that means. She specialises in alternative therapies that offer clients individual healing on physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual levels. She has a passion for natural healing, and her variety of modalities extends to working with animals, autistic and ADHD children. This is amazing, Debbi. You're a founding advocate for a wellness company that aligns perfectly with your choice of chemical-free, non-toxic products and sense of social justice. And also you do a regular show on a local local radio station as well. You're a volunteer puppy raiser with guide dogs, SANT, do delta therapy with dogs. I think we just better stop introducing you and get you on here because, wow, that's amazing. How are you, Debbi?
Hi, Adaire. How are you? Thank you so much for having me on.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's a mouthful.
I did say that I would pick through and pull out the highlights, and I just think it's just so much. There's so many highlights, so many amazing things you've done. Just like to acknowledge, we've got a couple of people that have popped in to say hi. Roy, hello, I can see you there. There's someone else here that's given us some love and some hearts and some thumbs up. Just shout out who you are and where you're from, because we love to have a bit more engagement, and we'd love to make it a three-way conversation if possible. So just let us know that you're here, say hi, and where you're watching from would be awesome. So, Debbi, let's start with the Holistic Cert IV Holistic Wellness. Yes, really curious about that.
Hi, Roy. Holistic wellness. So basically what it's covering is I tried traditional psychology, traditional counselling, and it really wasn't for me. It was too restrictive, and it didn't have a broad enough aspect for me. So then I found a course, which was a Cert IV, and we covered all aspects. So as we know, from a wellness perspective, we may have physical symptoms which are emotional. We may have emotional symptoms which could be what we're eating or what we're putting in, on, and around our body. So unless we cover all four spectrums, then I think that we're doing ourselves a bit of an injustice.
Okay, so the four spectrums, just to clarify.
The physical, the mental, emotional, and spiritual.
Spiritual. Okay, so that gives you a well-rounded.
I have a big playground to play in.
You do, don't you? You do. When you were talking about the more traditional things, were you talking about traditional medicine as such, or were you talking about psychology and a combination of?
Yeah, the traditional psychology, traditional counselling, they all are integrated, but I just think that there is broader. There's a broader spectrum, and you can go outside the lines. So I just found the traditional too, but obviously that's the base model. That's the base model, and then the rest of it is just a little bit outside the traditional, maybe what the clinical medicine would think.
Okay, so in terms of the clinical stuff, I do know quite a few people who are psychologists who also practice things like hypnotherapy. So are you seeing that there may be a blurring of the lines?
Oh, absolutely. More and more I think people are starting to realise that, if we're only doing one thing, it'd be like, if you only ate one food group for the rest of your life. So I think there's plenty of room for it all to be integrated. I make good chocolate though. But it's, if there's definitely room for Western and Eastern and everybody to integrate together and using it holistically, then you're covering all your bases. How can you go wrong?
Okay, so let's just assume, because I'm quite new to this, and it was only really, I thought I knew a fair bit about it, and I was just talking to my sister Nari the other day, and she was telling me how she's done the I think pretty much what you've done. She spent 4 years studying it. So, and I'm just going, this is pretty amazing, but I really don't.
Me either, Roy.
I never met a chocolate I didn't like. I think chocolate loves me too much too. So, but I guess the thing is saying I thought I knew a bit about it, and that she just, after talking to her, I found that I actually knew bugger all. In terms of, if you could share what that means. So what is something that would say I want to be a client of yours, or something's bothering me that to come to you, that I'm in need of some help to get over something. Mm-hmm. What would that be, and what would it look like? I know it's completely individual for each person, but if you could give us a sort of a scenario of,
hi, Wendy.
What sort of thing?
That's a friend of mine.
Hi. Oh, lovely. Hi, Wendy. Great to see you here. If anyone has any questions of Debbie as we go through this chat, please type them up. Love you saying hello. Love you waiting in on the conversation. We do have a three-way conversation. So any questions, please type them up, and we'll endeavour to answer them if we can. If we can't, well, then Debbie will take them on notice. So
no worries. Well, again, in answer to your question, so sometimes people can come, and obviously there might be a physical ailment. They might have pain, or there might be an emotional but I still would cover everything. So as we know, certain foods are inflammatory, and they can inflame the brain. So, and they can also give us symptoms of feeling lethargic and feeling flat and feeling even quite depressive. So that's just one spectrum. So I would then say, let's, as an example, someone comes to me with aches and pains and feeling flat and so they just think, oh, well, I'll just want a massage. But we can also look at what foods are you eating, and I might, and I'm not a nutritionist again, but there are certain food groups that we can at least alleviate that they could be causing some inflammation. We'll remove those ones. What about all the products you may be putting on you? So regardless of going too deep with this on this short spiel, we can say you're using some cleaning products that are really nasty toxins, and they're actually getting into your system and they're causing some problems. So that's another aspect. And then to give an example of treating people as individuals. So I had one lady who came to me with symptoms of like asthma type symptoms, and we worked out through conversation that it was basically environmental. So, I gave her some pure essential oils, some lavender. She went away, happy. Then the next client comes along, which I think this is where you may not get in some traditional, is that we're treating people as individuals. So the next person who came along after a little bit more in-depth client history, talking, chatting, it turned out she was an unplanned, unwanted pregnancy, and her belief system was that it's not safe to breathe. So then the body manifested itself as asthma because she didn't feel it's safe to breathe. So once we uncovered that, awareness is often half the battle. But once we'd uncovered that and we did some a bit more work with her and just got her past that belief and changing that belief, the asthma was gone. So I think the difference with what I do is that there is no one size fits all.
Yeah.
And everyone is an individual.
So with the person who had the asthma, you obviously, like you're saying, one size doesn't fit all. So having a discovery conversation, what sort of lines? I see Paula's here too. Hi Paula, how are you going? It's good to have some encouragement. We've got some love hearts that are going. Pop in and say hi. Don't be shy. Just when you're having a conversation, is that about, like with the asthma, for example, is that something along the lines of basic counselling, or do you use a technique, or
the conversation obviously starts with a history.
We'll have a chat with Wendy after, because I think we'll just answer that, and then we'll get you to answer Wendy. So I mean, it starts with obviously a consultation. It starts with, what's going on with your life, and often people do have their own answers. And as you know, that you ask the right questions, you're going to get better responses. So, instead of just assuming that I know everything, which I don't, ask my kids. It's just about finding out what are their gut instincts, what do they think, what do they feel, and then we can work from there. But there's some basic steps, and the basic steps are, what are you putting in, on, and around your body to start with? What's your belief system? Where have these beliefs come from? Are they even yours? Are you hanging on to old beliefs? Would you like them moved? And, with you doing with your NLP and hypnotherapy, that's something that you're really wise to. All I'm doing is going and throwing in something else into the mix, and throwing a few more things into the mix. And sometimes it can be, as we know, our body's electrical system. So sometimes it's meridians, and, sometimes it's just we've all just got a bit out of whack, just like how we go to a chiropractor and get back in alignment. So this is putting the whole body back into alignment. And using more than one tool. Does that make sense? It does. It absolutely makes sense. I think it's brilliant because, as you know, you said, I'm a hypnotherapist and NLP practitioner, and I can understand how you unpack and you get to people's belief systems. But I really like the idea, because you've mentioned massage, you've mentioned oils, you've mentioned the questioning and unpacking of limiting beliefs and false beliefs as well. Wendy is saying, where do you recommend the person starts their journey if they have an illness? And I also see Donna's here. Hello, Donna. Thanks for jumping in. Donna's part of the net friending movement with Roy Montero and April Roger, so they must be still going. Hello to you from all the way across the outside of the world.
Hi, Donna.
So it's really cool. I love this platform for doing what we can do. So back to Wendy. Where do you recommend a person starts their journey if they have an illness?
Okay, well, again, I think that they need to be open to trying different modalities and seeing which ones. So, we've still got your GPs and your specialists and everyone there, but then seeing a naturopath or a homeopath and somebody else, and seeing what they can add to the mix. So even, anyone going down a medical path, I would always still suggest, and obviously every choice is their own. And I would also, recommend that if you're going to go down an invasive path, as in the medical or, chemotherapy, radiation, those sort of paths, to know that your body is going to go through quite a trauma, and to supplement that to get you through that trauma. Everyone will go down their own journey, but there also are ways to help the body go through the journey that they've chosen. So again, I guess it's about seeking different opinions, different advice, and blending them, working with them. If they're one doctor is saying it's only medication, well, I don't believe that at all. And I believe that if you use nutrition and you remove some of the toxins from your life, that is going to make a massive difference as well. So that is also in alignment. So it can't be just one thing. It can't be that you just take a medication or you just do one thing. It will be a process, and the journey will be ongoing. Yeah.
I think what you're saying is it's quite impactful, because I know I've been brought up to believe my mother actually was a nurse, and she would see a naturopath instead of a doctor. But for some reason, I guess all the advertising, the big pharma and that type of thing, we in a let's have a pill and make ourselves okay society type thing. But even the doctors are conditioned by their training and by big pharma to prescribe. And I think having the balance, and I'm seeing more and more of the medical profession move towards more integrated health options. So
And there are integrative doctors out there. So if anyone's still believing that, anyone who doesn't have the degree is still, out there with the fairies and, doing witchcraft, they can still seek an integrative doctor. So that could be their first step, depending on where they are in their journey. They could seek an integrative doctor, who that integrative doctor would probably recommend a homeopath or a naturopath, and then maybe even an energy healer. And, so depending on how quick you want your journey, I mean, often we don't go from there to there in one jump. So, it can be an integrative doctor. And, there's a lovely group of integrative doctors in Adelaide. So, I would recommend that to be a first port of call for someone who's purely been on a medical path to at least get a different perspective.
Yes, and I absolutely agree. And I think that the approach that you're taking is obviously for the benefit of the client or the person who it's the focus, the center is on them, and you're doing that analysis of the things that are best going to help that person at that particular time. I do want to mention, for people who are watching, Debbi has offered to give away a energy alignment. So at the end of this broadcast, do you want to just explain a little bit about that? So about what the energy alignment is?
Yeah, and it is on offer for either yourself or a furry friend. So I do pretty much the same. It works on any creature with a spine, but what I'm doing is rebalancing your chakras. So your chakras are your energy centers. So we're rebalancing the chakras. Massage and touch alone, we know, even with people that are in hospices and that, and, with my dog, I do, delta therapy. So having something to pat or someone to touch is a very big thing, whether or not that it's, especially for ailing, sometimes it's just the power of touch can be healing for people to know that somebody cares. And, that whole, the love spectrum of knowing that somebody is spending time with you and doing something for you, that actually can be very healing in itself, just in itself. But the energy healing, I work with essential oils, I work with crystals, I make my own crystal sprays. And what we do is we're realigning the spine, which, as we know, from a chiropractic perspective, that's your central nervous system. So once you get that in alignment, then that often will start to integrate and set off your self-healing modalities in your body. So, but the neuroskeletal is basically 2 fingers going up the spine and setting off the receptors in the muscles that hold the spine to realign. And what it does is then send the neural message to the brain. So the muscles that are holding the vertebrae will realign for the next 48 hours. So, I have actually really great results with animals because they don't ask me what a placebo is, for a start. And they actually they relate to energy really well. So they will just go, yeah, give me more of that. And they actually, I did a greyhound up at Normanville last week, a couple of weeks ago, and he just kept backing up like this. He was backing up closer and closer, going, whoa, that feels really good. So, introducing just different modalities, and then I'm a Reiki too. So using Reiki as well. So, whatever people's belief is, I've had people fall asleep. I've had people go, I don't even know what that was, but I don't care. My introduction to Reiki was, God knows what, I didn't know what it was. All I knew is I had a frozen shoulder, and I walked in like Quasimodo and got off the table like, doing the Toyota ad. So that was like, that stuff was pretty cool. I need to get me some of that. So, that's really was where my journey started. And that lady has since years later come to a few of my workshops, and I always introduce her as the lady that got me started on this journey.
Isn't that awesome? I love those stories because I've got some of those myself, but it's about you today. So if you have any questions for Debbi, please ask them. Wendy's already asked, it's on the space of comments. Just pop them in the comment section down here. Know that there is a energy alignment to be given away at the end of this broadcast. If you would like, just type in the word yes in the broadcast in the comment section, and we'll put you in the draw to win that. You actually do need to be in Adelaide because it is, as Debbi said, a hands-on thing. So people will need to be present for that particular practice. I did have a thought that I was going to ask you. Oh, it's come back to me now. this is a bit of a fireside chat and not having something that's totally structured, because we can sort of meander a bit. I really am interested in, you said that you work with autistic, is it children, people, or people on the spectrum, and ADHD. Now, I've got several family members who are very close to me who have been diagnosed on the spectrum, and I do a couple of comments. One is that people who are on the spectrum, do they tend to have a different or better or worse or no different response, or and Ray's saying yes? I'm not quite sure. Oh, yes, because so what is Ray saying yes to? Oh, I'm silly, aren't I? That's what you call when you're doing this thing. You know, I'm actually driving the bus, I'm navigating it, and then I'm also talking to the passengers in the back seat. So
multitasking.
Lucky I'm not having a wine as well. I'll be drink driving. So so let's have a conversation about about people on the spectrum, because I think there is a huge need for help and support for people who feel like they're just alone and isolated in a world that doesn't understand them.
Yeah. Well, what I found is, for the most part, I call them my A-listers. So my A-listers I call like ADHD, Asperger's, autism, animals, and anyone feeling a bit alien. And I found that they're super sensitive, which means that environmentally, toxins are really detrimental to them. So removing any toxins, in particular, when I've done talks with mums of children, the toothpaste alone can have a massive effect on them, removing the store-bought toothpastes, because again, you know, your mouth is very absorbent, and so when you do take something, they always tell you to put it under your tongue, because, you know, then it goes through your whole bloodstream. And as we know, you'll find most traditional toothpaste will say do not swallow and seek medical advice. Well, what do most kids do? I mean, I've got a 3-year-old grandson, and, you know, he basically sucks on the toothbrush and sucks on the toothpaste, and not a lot spits out. So removing
sugar too, isn't it?
Well, there's 9. There's sugar, but there's 9 different chemicals, so toxins. And because these children, like animals, are so sensitive and more prone to having issues with toxic products, you've got to be really mindful of what you're using on them. And my top 3 would probably be your toothpaste, your washing powder, because again, we wash our clothes, we wear them, and then we wash our sheets and towels and we use them. So basically, if you're using a toxic washing powder, you are in that 24 hours a day. And if they're sensitive to this, and especially if they're nonverbal, they can't tell you that they're itchy or they feel lousy, because their little bodies are being overloaded with toxins. So again, working with the parents to have those conversations, but also using things like, and I've got a healing room, which, you know, my grandson and any kid that comes here loves, because they're just absolutely drawn. And kids they're drawn to things that they know are good for them. So they're drawn to the crystals, they're drawn to the essential oils. My grandson walks around with essential oils like this, just sniffing them all the time. And he goes, you know, so he's grown up with them. When he was first born, I made a baby range. And now I have 2 grandchildren. So I've made that baby range, you know, for colic and for sleep and for, you know, so all with just essential oils and crystals. I have a foot spa, a little foot bath, which I have a friend who has an autistic older boy, and he's come, and she said to me just recently, I need to bring him back again. And they put their feet they put little stockings on them, and I put their feet into, hi Cheryl, their little feet into the crystals. And of course, because we know that there's reflexology points and their adrenals, the crystals, the energies from the crystals all go through their feet. And my friend Deb said he was absolutely conked out for the rest of the day, like totally blissed out. So, you know, things like that. And then, and also then talking to, and sometimes, the parents are frustrated because if they're non-verbal, they can't get messages across to them. So yeah, that's where I do distant Reikis, and I can do that by actually tuning in the same as what I do for animals. I can tune into the animal and tune into the child and often give them a message for the parents, which gives them some relief of what the child actually wants from them. No different from doing a clairvoyant reading, but, again, I'd rather work with kids and animals. Give me less brief. So, yeah, and then, of course, I've got my guide dog that I've got myself. So often she's my nurse. So she sometimes, if the child comes here, and then, I get them to if they want to pat her, and she sits down with them, and she's amazing. So she's healing in herself. So yeah, so it's just, and parents would probably know of children, autistic children, that they do have bad reactions to sugar and gluten, and so, and the nasty ones that we know about. So yeah, their diet is important, but also the products that they're putting in on around them are very important.
And I found that, like our son, he's nearly 16, and when he was growing up, he's not been diagnosed, so he's just, sort of regular kid. But I found even with him, as his skin is super sensitive, but he is also, when he's very calm and mild manner, like he's just very calm. But when he has too much sugar, or if he gets that, I think it poisons him.
Really, yeah, absolutely. It is, because we know we're not. Yeah, absolutely. We know we're not allowed to give. We know we're not allowed to give chocolate or cakes or anything to our dogs. We know what that can do to them. Basically, it's very similar because they have such a sensitive immune system, and already the world, the environment in themselves is detrimental to them. So I'm not saying that we go fix them. I'm saying let's make their journey here as painless as possible by doing things that we can do.
And there's lots that we can do, but just by talking to you, I'm thinking that there is so much even I can do right now to change what I do to improve my own health. So we're nearly out of time. I just want to say, Debbi has kindly offered a energy alignment. So if you're in South Australia and you would like one, you can go in the drawer. We'll be drawing it in about 2 minutes' time. Ray has said yes. Just type yes in the comments if you would like to be in the drawer for an energy alignment from today's broadcast. Just if you've got anything that you'd like to share, so that a little process or something that we can take away with us if we are feeling like that and we want to pick me up. You talked about a 5-point thing before. Maybe that's something you can share.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, normally after everybody leaves, I give them the emotional toolbox, and then everybody's got smartphones, so to put it in their notes, because we all have days where we start to spiral down. So when they open up their notes to their emotional toolbox, the number one thing I will often put in there is something that they don't. The last thing, if you're in a terrible place, if someone says think happy thoughts, and you feel like going, yeah, sit on that. So I taught my son this because, again, with angry people or people that are frustrated, it's the quickest way that they can because, as I said, the meridians. So these are meridian points. And you can look it up if you want to know more about it. It's called FASTER, EFT. But this is just a real quick version of something that will still help. And then there's some beautiful practitioners out there if you still want to get deeper into, what's causing you. But for a quick relief, and to then use breathing as well, and grab an essential oil and sniff it as well, all those things, is the 5 points. So we've got here on this side of the eyebrow. We've got this side of the eyebrow. So you just
the left or the right?
No, and you can do it both sides if you want. So 1, 2, the bone on your eye. 3. Yep. No, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Hi, Michael Grant. That's my son-in-law.
Hi, Michael. Thanks for joining us. So it's 1, 2.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Collarbone.
4.
So find your collarbone. That's the little bony bit there. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And then grab your wrist and put your hand around your wrist. and you can do this within your mind. So you can still do it driving. So even though you're not physically touching them, it's the intention. So it can be, and what you can say whatever you like. So it can be release and let go. It's time to let go, letting go. It's happy to let go, peace.
Peace.
So
peace. So it's all about...
what they're doing is that these are the organs and your meridian points. It's just a quick method. You do that about 5 or 6 times, and you'll actually feel the anxiety levels calming down before you actually go to the brain and go, oh, for God's sake, get over this, or what's the hell's going wrong with you? So actually using that is a quick way to then get the cognitive mind going, all right, snap out of it, or think, let's think something better. But often we can't. We're too far down the rabbit hole, and we just need to we can do that as a quick relief. And then and on top of that, if you're able, then the breathing. So it's simple as in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. Do that 10 times, and with the tapping, and I guarantee that there will be some relief.
1,
2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay. I haven't actually explored tapping a huge amount, but I've been very curious. I've sort of followed it in a surface sort of way, and I think there's some real merit to.
Absolutely, and again, I'm not a qualified practitioner. All I'm saying is for a quick fix, and then if you find that you did get help and you would like to explore it more, then so look up faster EFT practitioners, and explore that a little bit further. But just for a quick relief, I do find that I've taught that to a few people. And Cheryl was one of the people that I did talk to about it. So it's a good thing to have in your back pocket of just when you're stressed, and you can do it while you're driving. You don't have to actually touch the points. You can just imagine it.
Thinking about it. So I guess that is the power of the mind, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome stuff. We are out of time. I know I keep threatening to go for an hour, because a half an hour just isn't long enough, but I think it gives us a taste, and I would love to have you back on the show at some time in the not too distant future. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that's lovely. Thank you. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Where can we find you?
Okay, my Facebook page is Debbi Kemp, Angel Whisperer. Or my animal one is Debbi Kemp, Angel for Animals Therapeutic Services, and my website.
I think I'll put both of those up in the comments above.
Okay. Excellent. And my website is angelwhisperer.com.au.
Beautiful. That's fantastic. Well, we actually have one person who has put up her hand to go in the draw, so you know what that means. The alignment, I've got trigger happy here with the mouse. It's not doing what it's supposed to do, but that's actually not Michael. It was Ray. Let's get Ray's comment up here. Do you know Ray, Debbie?
Do I know Ray?
Yes.
Oh no, she wrote yes for having the alignment.
Yes. Do you know Ray? Have you met her?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well, that's beautiful. So we'll put you both in touch with each other, and I'll let you work out how that alignment goes down. It's completely between you. I'll just drop you out of the show. Thank you for coming. Don't go anywhere. I want to talk to you in a moment, okay? Thank you, Debbie. And that was the lovely Debbi Kemp with the Angel Whisperer, who works with the A's, the animals, the ADHD, the autism, Asperger's, and aliens. So I think I got that right. Give me a thumbs up if I did. So if you fit any of those, and I know sometimes I fit the alien, see Debbie. Her contact details, her website, and her Facebook pages are above in the links. Please get in touch with her. We all love to make the world a better place, and I'm really grateful that she shared her time with us today to bring some amazing stuff about integrating health and integrative health, holistic wellness, which includes the physical, the mental, the spiritual, and the emotional. So thank you very much, Debbie. Thank you all for joining us on mytimetv.live. This is Community TV with Adaire. I look forward to seeing you again next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Australian Central Daylight Time. Bye for now.